Good afternoon, saints of the Most High God. To my saints and to my friends, good afternoon. This is Brother Silas with the Word Doctor Ministries. I want to come at you with some deep information. We live this life and we don't hardly really know anything really about ourselves because we try to bag it up and put it in a deep closet in our mind. We forget because we don't want to remember those real disturbing parts of our lives. But recently I've had to dig out some things that I had forgot about. I mean, it's all on the line. It's not no secret. See, when your life is an open book and you begin to talk to people on the internet, you see a lot of things that people never understood or heard before. You say things about yourself that people didn't even know because you become an open book. See, we got one life in the flesh to live, and we have eternity to spend in the soul. Do we know what the soul is? Not many. None of us have a clear view of the spirit world. Being spiritual versus religious. We don't understand what that means. And I'm here today to tell you, just like the Word of God says, that our bodies, our flesh man, fights against our soul man. This is a constant struggle for supremacy. Who's going to win? The flesh man or soul man? Many times the flesh man wins, only to see you dead in the flesh. And then you experience the spiritual part, the soul part of yourself, which we don't understand. It's like a dim view, low understanding. But I met some people in a meeting that I have had to go to. And I questioned at first, why do I have to go to that meeting? Why is it for me? The meeting was a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And I had to go because I took a dirty marijuana test on my job. And they were gracious to me not to fire me. They just hired me. and it was a protocol that told me you have to go through now. I'm trying to resurrect myself at 70. I feel pretty good, but you never know how you are. Your body feels good, your mind feels good, and you try to pick up kind of like where you should have went all along, making some good money and be able to help your family. I tell you, when I look back over my life, it really was something to go meet these people that have looked back over their life. One day making a decision that they would no longer let drugs and alcohol pull them down. to the gutter, to the 0 degree, but decided in themselves and took an inventory and realized that God had been with them all the time. The God that many of you claim to know, but these hardcore people were street people like me. That's who I am, a street person. Many of my friends, that's what we are. We're in the life. We're street people. We chose that way because we didn't want to work. We didn't want to be responsible to society or to any man for whatever reason. Some of us, and some of us worked jobs, got up every day and went to jobs just like everyday people, but got addicted to some hard stuff. You see, when I first was given information that I had to go to 12 classes, like 12 hours, it disturbed me because I said, well, I'm not a junkie. I'm not addicted to anything. God took me off marijuana. He told me to stop doing a lot of stuff, and I did. So why do I have to go? Well, basically because you had a dirty test. But guess what? It sent me to some places that I never felt that I was going to have to ever go to. And I met people that I never would have met if I hadn't went. People whose lives had been crushed by drug addiction, alcoholism. When God got a hold to them, and they made up their mind that they were going to clean themselves up, that they were no longer going to be used by drugs to make a mockery over their lives. They picked up where they could, brushed themselves off, and made a stand with God. I've been meeting them in these meetings. Narcotics Anonymous, NA. It's really amazing. When they give their testimonies, it's raw. It's uncut. It's unfiltered. You hearing the real deal Holyfield. Everything that they tell you is the truth because they could not tell it if it was fake. Because it's the downright nasty, decadent, whole truthful story of a life given over to Satan through drug addiction. What he'll do to you. But let me say this. What you learn from them people is what you do to yourself. You see, a lot of times we want to use Satan as an escapism. You know, Satan is the power of the sky and of the air. But you are on the earth, and you are a man in the flesh or a woman. And you war against your soul, against the spirit world. So we have more to do with this life than we want to admit. When you really gets down to it, it's really you. It's up to you. You either partner with Satan or you a partner with God. Ain't but two choices in this life. God or the devil. Or God and say, and your soul against the devil and the flesh. So your flesh, your body, is what we're talking about now. The flesh and the body is against the soul, the spirit of a man. It wants you to die in your sin, in your decadentness. That's what it wants. Your own flesh, not your friend. Could be, but in most of our cases, our flesh is not our friend. It is our mortal enemy trying to make us die in the midst of all our negative living, denial, stupidity, dumb shit. I'm grateful today that I met these people to tell the truth. They're just like me. People who have fallen in the drug addiction. And I mean, feel hard. See, in my story, I could always try to get around it. I could always try to act like I wasn't bad like them. I didn't need counseling. I didn't need no intervention. God just told me to stop, and I did. What did I do before that? I did lots of drugs, lots of different kind of drugs. All my life, since I was old enough to make a decision about what I would do with myself. Sure, I was talented. I could sing. I could dance. So, that kind of covered a lot of the mess that I was into. But at 14, 15, I was experimenting with drugs. Smoked weed for the first time at about 15. Continued to smoke weed all through my whole life. Never like at this pandemic, though. When the pandemic came, boy, look here. I bought as much weed as I could afford, and I smoked it every day. Only when I had to go to somewhere like church or to a meeting or somewhere where I didn't need to be high. I couldn't be high. Didn't feel like being high. That was the only time I didn't smoke it. But boy, when I was off from work or I was sitting around here, and through the pandemic, we was off for a long time, about 2 years, some of us. And some of us got unemployment and we didn't have to go to work. So we was doing whatever drug you like. For me, it was weed. Because I thought that I was smarter than all the real drug users. So I had been there, done that. That's why you could say, oh, I've been there, done that. See, the drug addict walk up on me saying, man, I just need some money. If I was a killer, I'd kill you and take your money. I said, brother, I've been there, done that. And I ain't killed nobody, took their money. I ain't never robbed nobody. But I did them drugs. See, and I ain't never felt like he felt like you got to kill somebody to get it, rob somebody to get it. I ain't never felt like that. But I've done it. I've done it. You see, I might have used a job to pay for my addiction. I might have had a girl to help me with my addiction. You see, I consider myself as a gentleman of leisure all through my life. That's just the way it was for me. Not proud of it because I've worked and I've struggled too. But anytime I had a good-looking girl, I was going to try to tell her she needs to get that money. And depending on what kind of girl she was, it was by any means necessary. Again, not proud of anything. Because you can't be proud of a sick, decadent life. Where drugs was a part of everything about you. Say me. from weed to about 17 pills, Red Devils. See, while I was missing the heroin game, because all the brothers that I grew up with, just about that wasn't squares, was on heroin. That was the first drug that came into our community. That horse, that one make you nod, and they say it make you almost feel like you're having sex or something. It's just so good. I escaped it, but I used to tie them up in a shooting gallery, they called it, over in my projects. And they had a certain little house where all of them would go. And I'd tie them up and they shoot that dope and start to nod. They miss their vein and they blow up. It'd be like a big old ball. It's just real nasty. The blood starts shooting everywhere. You know, and sometimes they couldn't find a vein because they didn't use up all their veins. And they start shooting in their foot and in their neck and in their, even in their private parts. As they was in private, you know, you'd hear about them talking about it. I never seen that. But I seen them shooting them arms and they missed the vein and blow up. I seen people instantly nod like they gonna OD or something. One day I asked my friend, he was my friend, a lot of friends was into that. I said, man, you got all that dope, let me have some, man, let me try that. See, that's how it starts. See, you get curious. And you didn't consider yourself a straight up dope fiend. I never thought I was. As a matter of fact, I didn't really have an opinion on it, like it scared me or not. It was like shooting a needle. I got brave. At first it was disgusting, but then I got brave after shooting them up all the time. And I said, oh, ain't nothing to that. I can do that. Ooh, Lord Jesus, help me. Thank you. Thank you that I never did. See, y'all, I calls on the name of Jesus for a reason. See, I have a testimony that makes me call on the name of Jesus. But Jesus is God. So if you just say God, that's okay. Because Jesus never expected anybody to really see him all the way and not talk about him and not reject him. But he's God. So and this God, he do love you first. He come in, get you, help you, not in a bad way. He's with you when you're sinning, when you're on dope, when you're doing the most disgusting things. He's with you. That's right. He's your rider. He's riding right there with you. That's it. So it's a misconception that God is only there for those who are saints, those who are repentant, and those who know him. No. God is with you when you're a sinner. God is who he chooses to be with. He knows everybody and everything about us. And my story is one of escaping one hard drug, which was heroin. Because my friend told me, no, little nigga, that ain't for you. And the way he said it, I know he meant it, but it was just something that hit me. God. That God I'm talking about said. And I was agreed with it. There wasn't no fight about it. I did try to fight a little bit. I said, well, you know, nigga, you just greedy, you know. You got all that dope, you know. Share it. He said, man, little nigga, this ain't for you. This ain't for you, little nigga. You don't be asking no more for this. This ain't for you. You ain't supposed to never do this. And I'm like, I almost was like, okay. I mean, that's the way God blessed me. But I went on. away from that shooting up shack, that shooting gallery as we used to call it. And I would go over there with other friends, and we smoke weed. Yeah, we do all kind of drugs. When I was growing up, it was heroin. Wasn't the only drug. That was the drug of the day. It was also red devils. Get 3 of them for $1. Come in a little 10 for a pack. Then you take them red devils and you be nodding like the dude on heroin. Just same thing. You be so toe up, you couldn't even keep your head up. You just a damn idiot, high as hell. And you have to take bennies, which was an upper, to try to keep yourself going. Otherwise, went to sleep, nodded out. It's like a heroin addict. Same thing without shooting it. You taking them by your mouth and they pills. So the uppers would geek you. It was like a speedball. Y'all ever heard of a speedball? Well, that's when you mix coke and heroin. If you shooting dope and you shoot heroin and coke at the same time or right after each other, you speedballing. You didn't up and a downer, right? It just you go crazy. But that's the way you do on Red Devils and Bennies. Bennies was they call whites. Speed. You run you crazy. No addict likes that feeling. You rather be down, not up and speeding around, gritting your teeth and that's a horrible feeling. So being docile or dumbfounded is better. You don't even know what's going on. You just downer, it's a downer. It's like heroin's a downer. See, cocaine is an upper. See. And we would do everything. Then we started doing acid. They give acid away. And in that hippie era, I'm 70 years old, so I grew up in the hippie era, where every white man looked like Jesus Christ up there on that picture. And they had acid for your butt. And they give it away on Sunshine. Okay? Different kinds, but I remember on Sunshine. But it was different kinds. And they give it away. Little tabs. They were little pills. And you would just put it on your tongue and it melt. If you could swallow it if you want to, but to make it work faster, you just kind of put it on your tongue like a heart medication, and it just go right into your brain, into your system. And one trip might be a good trip, and you can see things and hear things you never imagined. Think you hear what people saying before they even say it. It's an amazing drug. But if you do it the next day, you might have a bad trip where you would see your hand go across your face 1,000,000 times and you just be tripping. And then you might see pink elephants for real in the street in front of your car. Then you slow down real slow as everything is slow. If the police got behind you, they pull your ass over because they know you was high. You can't go fast. You going real slow. Ain't no speeding around on no acid. You go slow. Way slower than the speed limit. Just be tripping. I don't care if it was a good one or a bad one. You was tripping. All that happened to me before I was even a grown-up man. Then, when we didn't have no money and nobody was giving us acid, we get Bactine, and to get that cheap high. Bactine was a spray you used to spray on cuts and wounds. And we get that and inhale it in the bags It was in a can, aerosol. So we in a bag and take the bag and take a big hit, hold it for like you take a hit of dope, or not even that long, like a hit of weed, and you blow it out, goes up and left of it. Usually, so right then it hits you like a ton of bricks, and you have 5-10 seconds of the most intense high you ever had in your life, brain altering. Fall down, you couldn't even walk. You had to sit down and fall down. We did all kind of stuff to our bodies. And I had nerve enough to look at them people that was on crack when they was doing it on ether. That's before they learned how to do crack. Before they learned how to make it, they used to make it with ether. Ether blow up. You might blow up your house. Y'all heard about Richard Pryor. A lot of it is old enough. Richard Pryor caught on fire doing ether base. This stuff exploded on him. He was burnt bad. See? So that was a deterrent, but I just thought I was smarter. I had a cousin that used to make that stuff and sell it and smoked it himself, him and his girl. I told him I won't know. Kept smoking that weed though. Me and him smoking weed still. Everybody smoking weed. I ain't never stopped smoking weed. Weed started getting more exotic. Even when I was young. We had some stuff called Panama Red, some Acapulco Gold, woo, and Tie Stick. That was some real, that's like this weed today. I mean, it ain't no cheap, it ain't like we was getting them little lids and you just had street weed in there. Yeah, like they have today. If you buy from some people, you buy a lower grade of weed. But when you go to them shops, some of them shops got some bomb. And you getting some THC or THC, whatever they call it, your ass is high. But we had Acapulco Gold. I ain't seen none of that stuff around. But it was potent. Tie Stick knocked your ass out. That was a good weed. Panama Red, my God. Then Sesame came in. That's kind of like what they got today, cess. So it's always been there. Nothing new. It's got more names for weed than ever, but it's basically indica or sativa, or a hybrid mixture. If you get indica, you're getting full-fledged high. THC is all up in your system. And see, you can beat most drugs tests except the weed test. You can beat that too. But if you straight up take it, without deceiving the test, you're going to be dirty. That's what happened to me. Because I thought God had pulled me off of it, and so I figured anything that I do and test it would be clean. I stopped smoking for about 30 days before I went and got a job. And I figured I'd be drug tested for the job because it's a driving job. I've driven before. I drove trucks. And I used occasionally hard stuff like crack because I had been addicted to crack by then. But I had a cousin that was a dope fiend for years. And I asked her, how do you clean your system out before you take one of them tests? How you been getting away with it? Oh, you just did some niacin and drank plenty of water, and you'll be clean in 2 or 3 days. But the truth of the matter, that stuff don't stay in your body but 2 or 3 days. I mean, it's just not no hardcore system stuff. It's a shock to the body, but it doesn't stay in you like marijuana does. A lesser drug to people, they would say, well, that's a lesser drug, but it's still a narcotic. See, you still high, you still a junkie, you still chasing a high. You're still doing it. Marijuana make you want to have sex. It makes you, it's erotic. Just like crack cocaine is erotic, but you can't really have that much sex on that because you be too busy smoking. You ain't, you might think about it, but you be ready to go get another rock before you do something and keep her smoking. I mean, it's an erotic thing. I don't know how it work on women, but I know men take your nature away. You just be smoking. Yeah. So when I got past the heroin, I got past the one that they cut with the ether base. Got past all that. Didn't want none of that. Just smoke weed. Got past the red devils. Got past the acid. Got past the all kind of drugs. And turned my life into the music business. All the way into that. And it was like I loved the music and I wanted to be successful. And you know what my drug was then? It was just the music business. That was my habit. I would have killed a nigga that didn't come to practice. I mean, I was a crazy, obsessed maniac about my music and my career. And anybody who tried to deter that or stop it had a target on them. I would do anything to them. You better get your ass to practice, what I tell my partners who was in the group with me. That was a major violation not to be at practice. Major. That not to make it to the studio or something wrong with your voice or anything. You was in violation because that was my dope. That was my get down. Let me tell you something. After all was said and done, the dope was waiting at the door. It was just sitting there waiting patiently. Because when my career faltered, because it took me years for it to falter, y'all. See, I walked away from millions just because some niggas told me to forget that God shit. They really said Jesus shit. So it was something about that Jesus that just burnt them up, and they just wanted to talk about him all day, and I'm used to watch them. They're rich men. They're very rich today, right to the day. They made a lot of money with Barry Gordy at Motown, wrote a lot of hits for a lot of big groups. Some of the biggest songwriters, black songwriters there is. They're number one. Wrote more hits than anybody else. If they started their own company after them and Barry Gordy got into a legal fight over the royalties and the money that they had generated for his company. So they went out and started their own company. And I was a part of that company. But I wouldn't go for that Jesus shit. That to me was a little bit too much. So I like selling my soul or something. I said, no, man, I'm going to go find out more about Jesus. So that's kind of how Jesus came up on my plate. See? And I began to find out that he's in the book from cover to cover. That's a whole nother subject. And I could tell folks who are Christian religious that, yeah, Jesus is real. And I could say that he's God, because he is. See, he has his position as the Son, but he also is the Word. See, he's also the high priest. I mean, I can get into all that and tell you about your stuff. It's true. But I met some people that just, all they want to do is talk about God. Because whoever started that NA and AA, Alcoholic Anonymous, and Narcotics Anonymous, see, Cocaine Anonymous, CA, was a person who didn't want to have any religious overtones in it. In other words, you couldn't bring your Buddha up in there, you couldn't bring your Allah up in there, and you couldn't bring your Jesus up in there. You could bring God. God is what they talked about. God is the one who helped them. God is the one who brought them through. God was the one that was with them when they was out there doing all that dope, stealing and doing all that stuff they did, prostituting and all that stuff when they was in the penitentiary and all that stuff when they was little boys and going through it. Like some kids started early on this crack and all this stuff. See, because it was around. See, some of them wasn't, wasn't good with the woman game. So they had to do it all themselves. They was too busy tricking and giving money to the woman. See, some of us was fortunate that we had the woman that got out for us. See, but also that same woman might lead you to drug addiction, which in my case would happen. See, by the time I ended up in my late 20s, 30s, I found myself in Atlanta, Georgia, trying to buy a record pressing plant in the 90s, early 90s. And I'm in my 30s right now, by then. And it was also, I think it was about 13 record shops in the deal. And that was my business that I went to Atlanta to do, and I was trying to make it happen. And while I was doing business, I wasn't thinking about no drugs. Not none. I still smoking weed if I could find it. It's hard to find weed there back in them days. You know, you could get some weed, but it wasn't that strong. Wasn't like the stuff that I had been used to. But, I could find it, through a lady, through them girls, them hoes. They could find stuff, all kind of drugs. They'd find it, whatever you want, because they knew all the dudes. And the dudes had somewhere, they had it. So I dug me some up in Atlanta when I was out there. But I wasn't into getting high that much, even then. It wasn't until I crashed, till the business didn't work, till we had a big setback at the hotel we was in, and one of my main producers got arrested. And all our stuff got confiscated, all the music equipment, everything, all our clothes, everything got confiscated because we hadn't paid the hotel bill where we had been there for about 2 months. See, conning them people out there, room and board at a major hotel. So they just simply locked our stuff up, said it's locked up till you pay us. And I mean, that bill was probably maybe $100,000. Okay, crazy money. See, my producers was getting money from all the niggas in town because he had everybody con. He was a Detroit nigga. He had everybody played. And he was a legitimate guy. I mean, this dude was one of the baddest arrangers in the industry. But when you're in the street game, you mix all that into your real craft. That's just the way it is. You could be a brilliant scientist, arranger, engineer, and you still bringing that street con. You bringing that street game. You just that way. You just can't help but to be corrupt in whatever you do. There's got to be some game in it. Got to be some beating in it. Got to be some chicanery. That's the way it was. The way it still is for many people. But when I went there and met these addicts who get up and say, I'm John and I'm an addict. I'm Mary and I'm an addict. Or I'm Gene and I'm a recovering addict. but they always admit to being an addict. See? And their testimony is raw. You hear the real deal. Just like I'm telling y'all now, it's in the raw. I wouldn't be able to do this if I hadn't met them. Because when I go to these meetings, I got to be in the raw. See? It helps me to bring up all that garbage that I had put in a big bag and tied it up and throwed it up in the bottom of my closet, somewhere deeper down in the closet of my mind. Locked away in my heart, down somewhere deep where I wasn't thinking about none of that anymore. When all along it was God that was with me, just like they'll say, God was with them. See, when I was a sinner all the way, God was with me. When I didn't even pray to God, He was with me. Because I did reference God. I had respect for God. And I wasn't going to be praying to God while I'm out there in a bank, while I'm out there pimping hoes. I wasn't going to do it while I'm ready to kill a nigga. If he wanted to go that way, he wasn't scared to die. It was best man win. So you knew you was on your own. At least that's how you felt. But see, really, God was with you. You can't make it if God ain't with you. You don't make it to go to sobriety. You don't make it to the AA meetings, to the NA meetings, to the CA meetings. You don't make it to those anonymous meetings. You don't get there because you're dead. They're burying you 6 feet under in a crypt somewhere, cremating your butt. You see what I'm saying? But when God is with you, He brings you through. He's right there with you through all of that stuff. Testimony after testimony that I've heard was about God being with these people before they knew Him, before they even admitted that there was a God. All of them love God. Now, all of them admit that God, the one who was with them and saved them, brought them to sobriety. But then it's that fight that I'm talking about. It wasn't just giving everything over to God. They had to make a stand. See, that's what some Christians should learn. You got to make a stand. You can't just sit around in them pews and act like God's just going to miraculously going to fly you out of here. You got to fight for your life. You got to join up with God and stand up and be a man or a real woman. See? Shoulder to shoulder. That's right. With God. It don't happen without doing that. And admit to God and to the world that you're an addict. See? And denounce it. And God, along with yourself, you find the strength to overcome all things. Like, well, in Christian churches say, through Christ that strengthens me. But for a drug addict, it's through God that strengthens me. The God that's in me. They say the God up in the sky is too hard to reach. But the one that's in you, you can reach Him right away, instantaneously. You know, that's more of a testimony than a lot of Christians got.